Welcome to Did You Know with Richard Utley. During this 1-hour program, join us as we take a look at today's headline news, Richard's views, history, inspirational interviews, and much more. Did you know this program airs every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube? Here's Richard now. Sit back and enjoy today's featured presentation.
Well, good day and welcome to another Did You Know. I have a very interesting program coming up, but let me start off with 3 things. As I've shared with you, we got to get involved in the electoral process. So now's the time for those of you who are thinking about running to go out and find out what you need to do to get on the ballot. And I hope that a lot of you who've been thinking about it, who've been sitting on the fence, is now off the fence. Because I think all of you have now come to the realization, if we don't look out for ourselves, then shame on us. It's just mind-boggling to us, and to me, especially me, that we don't look out for our own vested interests. You know, I read all the headlines and things. People said, oh, I voted for this person, I voted for that person, and they thought they was going to go one way and they went the other way. I'm telling you, we have to become tough. We have to support those who support us. We have to reward those who support us. And then we got to punish those who don't support us. So what I mean by that is we need to kick them out of office. Don't support them. Let's not support people that don't have our vested interests, okay? Because I think that's crazy. I see it so often. Keep this in mind. We're only going to support those who support us, who have our vested interests. If you don't have our vested interests, don't even come and talk to us. And I think that's going to be my mindset for the next 9 months. And the reason I say the next 9 months, because I'm sure all of you know, the primary is coming up May 19th. That's right, May 19th is the primary. So you need to get moving. So remember, the primary is key to put those people who win in the primary in the general election in November. So let's start doing our homework, let's start doing our research, and let's stop having people sell us a bill of goods that we buy, and then we get home and we find out it wasn't worth buying. Mm-hmm. You know, I was seeing something that, history is very important, as you all know, and I think that we have to start doing our own history because nobody's telling us our history. And we have a legacy, and we should be very proud of our legacy because we have survived. You know, armed with the knowledge of our past, we can, with confidence, charter a course for our future, and that is Malcolm X. You know, I hear people say, "Oh, we should not look back at past history. We should only look forward." That's an easy thing to say, but I thought about it, and I had to put it in perspective of my own mind. You know, when I read things about slavery, and that's been a long, long, long time ago, I thought about a few years ago, I had someone do my DNA research, and I had them to dig into my research and find out who I really was. And it was just interesting. That person did all this research, and as I was reading through the documents, I found where I actually saw it with my own eyes where some of my relatives were slaves. But I was able to connect it to me personally. So if I was able to connect it to me personally, I know that you can connect it personally to you. And so we need to never let nobody forget what our people came through. I don't care how much they don't want to talk about it. You can't change certain things. And that's one of the things I am not going to change, and I'm going to continue to talk about our legacy because it's very important. So I hope all of you look in the mirror today and just think about your forefathers. Your forefathers and what they went through. And I know times have been very hard for us, or maybe times for you. But just think what they went through. And don't you ever forget it. And don't you allow nobody else to forget it. I looked at a couple of things. why does, and I'm just giving out, why does America patronize? They're very patriotic. Okay, they are. But they require silence about slavery. But demands honor for slaveholders. That's my whole point here. Nobody don't want to talk about slavery. We would act like it didn't exist. But yet we demand honoring people who were slaveholders. I just want you to think about it. That's all I'm asking you to do. Before I get started, the GPS never says you made a mistake. It just says recalculate route. Remember that for 2026. I'm gonna repeat it again. When you're driving or on your phone or whatever, and it tells you to go one way and you go the other way, and it says, this is what it says, right? The GPS never says you made a mistake. It just says recalculate route. So if you made some mistakes, don't worry about it. Just recalculate the route for 2026. And I want all of you to know that it's up to you to do your history and teach each other history about ourselves. Because I think that we owe it to ourselves. And the other thing is, before I close, sometimes we get upset over the craziest things. We spend so much energy on things that we should be spending energy how to correct. All this register to vote. Now they want ID. They want this, they want that. Let's stop fighting about keeping it from happening. Let's plan an attack so that we can make sure that we do what's necessary so that they can vote. So let's stop spending that energy going up there marching around saying, blah, 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 this, and everybody don't have an ID and everybody don't have that. Ladies and gentlemen, forget it. You're going to have to eventually have ID. I guess you have to have ID if you're 18. I guess if you smoke. I guess you have to have ID if you going in to buy some alcohol beverages or whatever. So there are things that you have to have ID for. So let's stop using the excuse we can't vote because we don't have no ID. I'm saying to you now, you got time to get ID. So let's just stop worrying about things that's already going to happen. Yesterday I read people said, the president didn't acknowledge Martin Luther King till later on in the evening. Who cares? Long as you acknowledged him is what's important. What you do. So from now on, I'm going to start bringing this up. We have to be accountable to ourselves. And once we're accountable to ourselves, and let's stop spending energy on things, it ain't going to make a difference. Let's react. Let's plan an attack. Okay, we know what's happening. We know what's going on. So let us all get together. I want the churches. I want the schools. I want the neighborhood communities. We all have to join together to try to make what we're going through now a little bit more pleasurable. As I've always said, life has peaks and valleys. The key to life is not have so many valleys. So I'm going to leave you on that today. And so today I've been thinking about what's important. And one of the things that's important is education. And we talk about education and we talk about sports and we talk about all kinds of things. And so today I have a young man on. I'm going to bring him on now. Andrew Erby. Andrew is the athletic director, and he's also the football coach of Steelton-Highspire School District. And for those of you who don't know, that's right. Harrisburg is there, and Steelton-Highspire is next to it. And I brought him on because he has vision. I brought him on that he has wisdom. And I want to talk to him about his vision, his wisdom, as well as his passion. But before I do that, I just want him to tell you who he is. Andrew, tell the audience who you are.
Good afternoon, Andrew Erby, athletic director football coach and community partnerships at Steelton-Highspire. Just a little bit about my background. Born and raised in Steelton, Pennsylvania. Graduate of Still High in 2000. Also went on to Delaware Valley University, where I was a football player and a graduate. Really decided to come back, and my vision was to help the youth, to guide and to give back to the community what was given to me as I was a student athlete in the community, where we're all about support, making sure that kids understand the importance of education and make sure that we're successful in the classroom, but also driving home the importance of where athletics can be a resource and an avenue for other opportunities in life, which was given to me. I had the opportunity to work along a lot of supportive colleagues, whether it be community members, teachers, just support staff. So our goal and our vision is to give back and give guidance to others, so that they understand that there's opportunities to be successful in this world and during these tough times to face them. So I thank you for having me on.
I'm going to start out with this here. The saying they have is coaches don't just coach games, they shape lives. So by saying that, what's your interpretation and vision of that?
Interpretation is simply this. We want to give young men and young women the guidance to the understanding of the importance of education, the importance of being a positive community member, and also being successful within the athletic lines. But I think one of the biggest things that when you look at it, we want to map and give young people the tools that's going to help them be successful mothers and fathers 20 years from now. So the experiences that we have with young people and experience we have in coaches, we want every student athlete or student that crosses our path to have understanding that we care more about you on a Friday or Tuesday. We want to make sure that you understand the importance of who you are as a human being and the development as a person in general. And the only way you can really show that is by actions. I think what makes our program a lot different is we have a leadership academy where we meet with our students and discuss what our mission, our vision, and our core values are within our athletic programs, or just with being a regular student. And I think that is the difference. We expose our kids and we give the kids the tools to be successful, and not just tell kids this is the consequences if you don't. That's just a little bit about kind of where we kind of separate ourselves, where we're mentors rather than just coaches.
I mean, I think that's important. I mean, me being a former coach, I think one of the beauties about being a coach or being a coach is that I be somewhere sometimes and someone comes up to me and say, "Coach, thank you for what you told me," or "Thank you how you led me." And to feel that you had an impact in someone's life is really a great feeling. Would you not say that?
Absolutely. We kind of talk about it. The buzzword now today is culture. So to a high school kid or to a youth kid, to a youth coach, to a youth parent, what does that simply mean? It can be confusing at times. So we like to simplify our language, and we kind of use culture as our air. So you either have good air or bad air. With the good air, you generate positive, making good decisions. The bad air is negative, and eventually your bad air will eventually slowly kill you. So we kind of have a discussion about that buzzword culture, but we put it into simple terms. Our air stands for how we act, how we interact, and how we react. So our culture is air, and that's the buzzword we use. We're either putting good air in the room or bad air in the room. So that really separates, I think, the teaching component and the teaching piece to simplify things. So there's an understanding of what's positive culture, all right, and what does that actually look like? So what are you putting good in the room, or what are you putting bad in the room? And I think we make we have a big decision on what type of environment we surround our kids with the positive or the negatives. So we try to generate that buzzword of our culture is simply the air that we breathe. With the good air we're living, we're positive. We put bad in the room, make bad choices, it'll eventually kill you. So that's kind of one of the buzzwords that we've used in our programs and thing that I try to connect with young people.
And saying all that, you have what they call a winning formula. A lot of my audience don't know you've won the state, Pennsylvania state championship a number of years in a row. And sometimes people don't realize the hard work that you've done to accomplish that. And so, but you have to have a formula to do that, to win repeatedly. And I just like you to talk about your teamwork and each other's back in preparation. And as I ask you that question, I personally reflect back to when I was growing up, and I was very fortunate that I went to a high school in Pittsburgh, Westinghouse, and we had a coach named Pete D'Imperio. And Pete D'Imperio was a very successful football coach for a lot of years. And some of the philosophy that he had and some of the philosophy that you had matched up. Even to the point that John Wilborn had wrote a book about Pete D'Imperio. I had gotten the book. I had gotten several books, and I had given you the book. And you said you could mirror it together. And that's about building a foundation. Because you don't have to totally reinvent the wheel. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. And that book was great for me to kind of reflect back, and you go back and you look at different eras. But when you already look at it, the vision and the mission align to the core values of what success looked like. And I'll just walk you through kind of how I got to that point early on in my career. To be honest, the self-reflection came from this. At the end of every season, I think the biggest thing for coaches and programs who are successful is being able to reflect back on and get feedback from your players and from your coaches and positive people in your community. And one thing that stood out to me is I had players that not one person responded to, how do you think that we handle diversity? So it kind of caught me off guard, and I started asking the kids, like, was there an error with the Google Doc that nobody responded to the question? After having a discussion, nobody in the program really understood what the definition of diversity was. So the question I had to ask myself and ask the coaches, how can we ask kids to handle adversity if they don't know what it means? So that's where we got to the point where we needed a little bit more than just practice and fundamentals, that we mentally had to make sure that the kids understood what our mission, our vision was, and that's where we identified core values. So our core values is our belief system, roller pride and effort, dominate, focus, do your 111th, and for the room. So those core values are what we hang our hats on. And I think our core values are important because the average person will look at your core values and think, okay, your core values, they're football. Our core values are made to implement in the classroom, in the community, and within the lines. So I think it's important that we want to identify that our motto is made for you to be a successful person, not a successful individual or a program. You should be able to go to an interview, all right, and be successful in the interview. And when it goes down to longevity, we look at 20 years down the road. Based off of the skills that we learn, how is this going to make you be successful? So our adversity plan, once we identify what adversity meant, of anything that could be weather, that could be grades, that could be issues at home, we identified, we came up with a plan and the tool. So our tool is, our first step is adversity. Your focus, your brain needs to be where your feet are at, because people struggle. So when you're in math class, you should be thinking about math class. When you're in football, you should be thinking about football. When you're at home and you have chores, it should be on the chores. The second step is do your 111. We all have a responsibility and a commitment to be successful. So there's 11 people on the football field. What is your job? What is your responsibility? So that can relate to in the classroom. What is your responsibility in that classroom for you to be successful? And the third one always comes down to effort. You control your effort. No one else controls your effort. And that's kind of what we did was we added a tool. So going back and reading the book from your high school coach, I really seen a lot without even knowing, but we we had almost had a very similar plan to success. So it was really mind-boggling that when you go back and you look at it, he already created a master plan that was kind of mapped out, and things were so similar that I could see why he was successful. And again, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just doing what makes you successful. So that was a eye opener to also let me know that we're aligned to making sure that we're moving in a positive direction. We're moving in the right direction.
I think that sometimes people don't give coaches a lot of credit, especially in Pee Wee or Little League or high school, because that is where you set the tone for them to become productive citizens. Because people don't realize, kids watch you. They see who you are, what you say, and how you say it. And being positive is so important. I've seen so many kids who go home, somebody told them they weren't going to be this, somebody told them they weren't going to be that, and so they didn't feel good about themselves. So, but you're able to see those kids, and the reason I'm asking you that is because you see a plethora of kids. You know, you don't, you know, you know that Steelton is like any other, like it could be urban. Okay, it's urban. It's small, but it's urban. So you see kids who don't eat. You see kids who go home, maybe they don't. You see kids who go through a lot. And so you try to make them feel that they're somebody. Because I think all of us are somebody, but sometimes people don't tell them that they're somebody. So how do you relate that to try to make a kid? And it don't have to be, because it's all, to me, it's all interlocking. Football, sports, music, it's all the same. And I tell people that, yeah, you got to be in time. You got to go practice. You got to do such that. But if you're in the band, you got to do the same thing. If you're a cheerleader, you got to do the same thing. If you're in chess class, you got to do the same. So some of the principles are very the same. But my thing is, how do you tell my audience out there why it's so important to be passionate? Why is it so important to be real?
Great question. And I'll be happy to answer that. I think the biggest thing is the mentor piece. So people always ask, why do you have so many coaches? Well, the problem is they're not just coaches, they're mentors. And I think with our mentor program, what we were able to do over the years that has been a success is breaking our student athletes down to a positive mentor, where that mentor can check in with that student athlete, just to let that student athlete know. The questions can be, how are your grades? How's everything going at home? Do you need anything? Has been powerful. Across the board, one thing that's been a success is making sure that our kids understand what positive self-talk is. What you tell yourself is what you'll become, but just reiterating that. But it also needs to be taught as a tool. We'll have kids do a power statement. So a power statement, for example, would be me. I'm going to tell myself I'm the best coach in the state of Pennsylvania. That is a power statement, and it's going to remind myself of positive self-talk. So I think we're unique because we are able to teach kids tools, because it all starts up top. It all starts where your mental focus are, but it starts with you tell yourself. And kids need to have a plan, but it needs to be taught. And just that support system of mentors is huge. Now, here's where we make separation at. There used to be some confusion where coaches only care about players during the season. Well, we do that in the off season because I think it's important to check kids on grades in winter, check kids on grades in the spring, check on kids, see how they're doing in the summer, because that makes a year-round commitment. So athletes or students know that we care about you no matter what. And what that has done, it has also made us successful with getting more kids in school, because they're monitored year-round rather than just during the season. But for me, that shows me and that shows our coaches that we are committed to you being successful no matter what the situation is, because we're checking this week. You don't have a game on Friday or Saturday. So it builds a personal connection. It grows relationship, but ultimately surrounding yourself with positive individuals and coaches and mentors who are committed to making sure that young people are positive and are making good choices for their futures has been a success for us.
I think what you said is very important because you're talking about high school and you talked about mentors. And I think mentors are very important. Now, I just so happen to be in a mentoring program in the federal court system. It's a federal court system where once a month we go to the federal court and the people in there that's on probation or parole, they come in, but we're there to mentor them. We're there if they want to call us. You know, I have two mentors, if they have my phone number. And they may just want to call me and just say, how you doing? I just want to check in with you. It's not I got you, it's a bad thing. Or they may be going through something. They said, you know, I just need to talk to somebody because I'm getting ready to go Zoom. And I said, you don't want to go Zoom because you go Zoom, you're going to be sorry. And you better go Zag. And so people need to feel wanted. People need to feel that there's somebody. And that's why I think it's so important that I keep saying to my audience all the time, just when you see a senior citizen, it's okay to say, hello, good morning, how you doing? They may not have nobody else to say good morning or how you doing. And if you see a young man or a young lady, say, hi, how you doing today? And I think how you creating that culture is so important. You know, sometimes what you said it's a long process, and you've been very successful because it's been a long process. But you had people that looked out for you as well. I mean, you know, you had Coach Bubba Willis, you had Siegel, you had Lou, and you had those people who tried to help mold you. So it's important for you to take back and give back to the community. And I want to commend you on giving back to the community because I think it's very important. I think that sometimes we, all of us, can offer something back. Everybody's not an athlete. Everybody is not good at that. But we're all good at something. You might be good at music. And I think one of the things that we have to start doing, especially, is that we have to start patting everybody on the back now, not later on. I mean, you had a foundation. There's no question you had a foundation. And so, you know, you were going to succeed. What do you do for those kids? They may not. It's going to be rough for them. My biggest concern has always been, it's not the smartest kid I worry about because they're going to be all right. It's the one back there in the back there that's labeled or been put down. How do we help them so we don't lose them? That's a very important thing. And you know, sometimes people don't say you were a good athlete, so you were going to do okay. Folks, y'all probably don't know this, but I was going to be a good athlete too, so I did all right too. Okay, but so success came to me athletically pretty easily. But what about that kid that's trying everything they can do, but how do you give them hope?
Great question. I've always evaluated every situation. I think the biggest thing as mentors and adults, we have the opportunity to either help a young person or hurt a young person. So I think the biggest thing and what I believe in is first build a connection to let them know you care. Find out what they're motivated by, give them tools, and help them monitor small steps for success, but also their belief system. Because a lot of times kids that struggle, you almost have to rewire them and give them a support system and build them up so that they have an understanding of that they can be successful. But I think it all really comes down to the biggest thing is relationships, taking that barrier down, finding out what drives the kid, finding out what the hardships are, and finding out what they love and what they're motivated by. And then if you do get to a kid that have challenges, dig deep enough to find out why. But in order to do that, it all starts with you willing to build the connection, build the support system, And again, I always say like this, you're either going to help a kid or hurt a kid. And once you make that the choice, I think you need to decide with this. By you not helping the kid, can you sleep at night knowing that you didn't help? That's one of the hardest things is we very rarely have kids where they're dismissed from the team, because I think the thing is with us is my philosophy is I'm going to help before I hurt. And just digging away and just building that relationship. But it really comes down to a connection, and then providing them with a support system of belief. Like you talked about, the positive self-talk. Again, peer feedback is extremely important. Sometimes we'll get kids that struggle with adults. So the best thing is surround them with kids who've necessarily been down that road or have an understanding of it, because the most important feedback sometimes is peer-to-peer feedback, where maybe their kids that was their age, where they could say, hey, man, I struggle with grades too. This was going home at 2. These are some steps that I had to take. I had to work on my attendance. I had to get here on time. So these are some things I had to do. So providing them with a circle of support and connections, but just the belief system to rewire that positive self-talk, that positive environment. Again, our culture all goes back to the air we breathe. Provide them with the positive air and positive reinforcement that they know that there's a support system, that there's help there. And again, but also being patient enough to know that this may be a process, but we're gradually going to get and move to the direction that we want. And we kind of pride ourselves on those challenges, and making sure that we see kids the whole way through. And again, it's not that a kid will always get it at that age, but 20 years from now, if you can go back to your kid and tell your kid, hey, I had coaches, I had a support system, this is what they told me, it's also a win-win too, because you may not learn the lesson now, but if you can transition into an adult or a young man or a young woman and actually go back and revisit that and say, you know what, I should have listened, but you have the skill to teach another young person, a child or something in your circle, is important. And here's what makes us extreme. The reason why my impact and our impact has to be so extreme and so important is because I may have that young man or that young woman that may have to go home and teach these skills to their young siblings. So it's even more important for me, because I may have the man of the house or the woman of the house that needs to go home to the siblings and provide positive self-talk about a kid in their. So we always pride ourselves on that. And like you said, you sometimes have kids where they're really grown people. They're really the adult in their house. So it's a need, an immediate impact that we have to touch lives now to the best of our ability, because again, you're that role model. They're that role model in that household when they go home.
What you said is not only very important, but I look at your program. I look at a lot of programs and urban programs. I look at athletics in terms of the program of your philosophy. Even though we had talked about my former coach, Pete Imperial at Westinghouse. Westinghouse, you now play them. You're friends with the coach of Westinghouse, and you both have the same philosophy. And when I say you both have the same philosophy, but it's a philosophy that all of you need credit for. And when I say credit for, whether it's Westinghouse, whether it's Aliquippa, whether it's Harrisburg, whether it's York, whether it's Philadelphia, sometimes that's all they got. And people don't understand that's all they got. All they're asking for is somebody to care about them and believe in them. And sometimes I do get upset because I think we put more emphasis on athletics than the reading and the writing. But something that you said, in order to even be on the team, you got to be eligible, which forces them to do the right thing. And if they learn to do the right thing, that's important. And people, because I call it life science. You got when you retire or when you grow up or whatever you do, you have certain responsibilities. So the kid knows what time is practice. Kid knows what time the bus is going to leave. They need to know those things, because guess what? I see it all the time. When they get in their adult life and they get a job, they don't understand responsibility. They come late and they want to know why they don't get hired. Or they come with an attitude. or they come with no discipline. And so your thing in terms of the winning formula, teamwork, and you always say each other's back. What do you mean by each other's back?
I always have an understanding of our motto and our hashtag is for the room. So we always say making choices that are going to be best for the people in the room. And that goes a choice in the classroom, doing your schoolwork, being respectful, making sure you're being a leader, because athletes have a positive impact over that culture. It goes back to that air we breathe. Next step is community. Making sure that we are upholding those things in the community as a citizen, helping others out, volunteering. We have rollers serving others where we participate in our athletic programs where we may assist with the food bank. We have kids that go out and shovel. We have a group of kids where they go out and support that. And I think the last bullet is within the lines, and that goes with just teaching kids about sportsmanship, but also having an understanding that the younger kids also watch you as well as you develop. We have a partnership right now with our elementary school where our high school athletes will go down and get our young athletes involved, but they're also learning how to be mentors. They're also learning how to be coaches and officials. That's the thing where we lack in our communities with officials. So we have an initiative where we're aligning our high school student athletes all the way down to our elementary school athletes to expose them to different sports and improve some of our sporting programs by getting kids early, especially some of our girls sports.
I think like you said, I think that's important, because one of the things I've always told athletes, you are a role model whether you want to be one or not, and people watch what you do. You represent your family, you represent the community, you represent the town, you represent a lot of people. And so that's why I think it's very important that we have to start to hold everybody accountable. I think we have to hold the parents accountable. I think we have to hold everybody accountable. And so, in saying all that, how do you try to get the parent to be part of the accountability in the program?
I always ask parents, when involved with parents, that they have an understanding that our long end game is so that their student athlete can be successful down the road. But understand that the power is in their education, and our goal is to give them the tools that they can be successful in the classroom, in the community, and on the field. But in order to do that, we got to also understand that how we handle adversity is ultimately going to be our success. So I think a lot of times people just assume that things are going to be easy and things will happen a certain way. But we kind of call it stand on the roller coaster. Like in life, there'll be a roller coaster. Being able to stay on that, and what keeps you on that roller coaster are the tools that we have to teach you. So that talks about the effort that you give. That talks about eliminating reminders and distractions on the outside that can keep you focused. That talks about doing what's best for the people in the room. Ultimately, as you get older, that skill that you learn is doing what's best for the people in your family. Like having the social skills and being able to communicate, where if something goes wrong at your job, you can't just run out and walk out and cause a scene. You have to do what's best for your family, and it goes back to your 111. And again, we ultimately tell our parents at the end of the day when we get done, we want to make sure that our kids understand that mental toughness is the ability to do something that you were taught the right way, even when things are extremely hard. That has been a success for us, where everybody seems to be motivated when it's easy. What this game and what life teaches us sometimes how to respond to adversity, and do we have the motivation and the positive self-talk and be driven within our vision to still do things what's best in the room, which ultimately, as you get older, will ultimately be your family. So the buy-in comes from the family is trust us, let us show the progress. And again, as you start to get players who are successful that go on to do some positive things, what it does is it lets parents trust, and it's not based off being verbalized. The actions show a little bit more than, like you said. I think we right now, I think we have 4 kids that are police officers in our program that graduated through our program. Right now, we have at least 17 kids that are in school over the past 5 years. So I think that the trust and the actions and the commitment of the program, I think parents trust it because they actually see the results and the buy-in by the success of our student athletes. But that all starts with the parents giving us the ability and opportunity to help their young person grow.
I think that when people participate, they have a tendency to remember what's positive. And I'll tell this quick story. One time I was home in Pittsburgh, and these 2 guys came up to me. Older guy, I thought he was an older guy, but he wasn't. He had went to school with me, and life was not good to him. He was strung out. But he came up to me and he said, "Hey, aren't you such and such?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you remember when we won the Little League baseball game?" And I was like, I'm an old guy. I don't remember what I did when I was in Little League. And at first it bothered me. But then I realized he had his son with him. And really what he was telling his son, I wasn't always like that. I was somebody. And after I put it in perspective, I learned to have a different respect. Because when he first said, I'm like, Little League? I'm a grown man. I don't even remember Little League. And I said, yes, I remember winning the, Little League, but I don't remember. But I realized positive role models, positive to him. He wanted his son to know, I might be a crackhead today, but I wasn't always a crackhead. And I was a fairly decent, a fairly nice guy. And I had to learn to put that in. I had to learn to put that in perspective. You got so many things going on, and people may not know this, but you are the athletic director, and you the coach of the football team, but you don't have no football field. So explain to my audience here, you a coach, you're athletic director, but because of the condition of the field, you did not play last year. You had to go to other schools to play. So I'd like for you to explain your Steelton-Highspire revitalization multi-plan and your fundraising, and then tell us how you were able to get your young people to understand they didn't have a field to call home.
That was a difficult conversation I had to have last year. And I think what goes unnoticed is that a lot of people hear football field, but they forget that affects the cheerleaders, the band, the youth program, the track who uses the turf, and the football stadium is the heart of our community for Friday nights. So that was a difficult conversation because you lose senior nights, you lose your last home game on Cottage Hill, which is special, but you also lose that buzz in that community where a lot of people in our small community, that is our Friday nights. That is what's important. There's a lot of tradition there. So not only were the older kids affected, the entire youth program was affected. We had to play 13 away games, and the youth program had to play 12 away games. But that affect everyone across the board. But the good thing about that was I think our community has realized that we need more than just the football field. The football field is just a small piece, and the tracks and the athletic is just a small piece of what our community truly needs. So I think what we were able to get during our advocacy week was feedback from the stakeholders in our community, from community members, from students, and realize that we need more than just a field. And that's where I think our community centerpiece will separate us. So where we're at now, we didn't want to just put a Band-Aid on the field and just play. So we thought about, what does the community need rather than just a field, just to play a game? Me personally, as the football coach, I think it kind of caught people off guard for some reason. I'm not concerned about playing a game on the football field. I want to make sure that we can do something bigger and better for our community, which is the vision of our community center. Where we can have educational piece so we can grow our students, a place where our community members can attend with food bank trades, a place where we can host and hold our early childhood for our young people educationally so that we can close the gap in our foundation. The community center piece is what is extremely important to me, because it's a need that the community needs rather than just a game field. We can play games, but just to show how important it is to us, our vision for our stadium and our community is more about what can we do to change our community so that we can be successful. Currently now, we have ambassadors. Our ambassadors are legacy ambassadors, which is a group of positive positive alumni that has made the project real. And the reason why we wanted our successful alumni, from NFL players to superintendents to CEOs, because we wanted people to know that this is real, that this is a real project. This project comes with some strong credibility and people that were successful. So our goal and our vision is to change our community by adding a community center along with a field, a track, and just give our community more opportunity where they can grow and our students can grow, where they can learn. And we want it to be a community hub to where we can change lives at the end of the day, not just play a game. So the model's been, just like we said, coaches do more than coach a game. We want our community project to be more just a field. We can play on the field. We can play games. So we want the community impact to be what we're able to save our community with and give our community different opportunities. And I think that early childhood piece is a game changer, because if people don't realize it, we used to have our early childhood over at the elementary school, but we don't have enough space. So providing the space where we can drive our young people, where we can drive our community members with food bank and have mental health services, I think we're meeting the needs of the community by providing that.
So you're having a fundraising, you're asking people to give, you're asking corporations, you're asking people to commit to your dream and your vision. And you're asking people, they all don't have to be from Steelton-Highspire. They can be anybody who sees the need to help develop your little town, just like Aliquippa had their little town, and they had support, and different neighborhoods have support where they don't have the tax base, and they have people who's living from day to day, paycheck to paycheck. And so you want, if anybody's interested, they can go on your website.
Yep.
You want to tell them your website?
They can go on our website, Roller Nation Foundation. And what is good about this is you can do it online. Any business partnerships that would like to be involved in it as well, that is open. We have a few fundraiser events that will be out, that we'll post on social media where people can come and hear about the project and the progress. But it's important that we understand that this project cannot be supported by our school district. This is a capital campaign led by On Hill Development, along with collaboration from the Roller Nation Foundation. This cannot be paid by taxpayer dollars, which means why we need to go outside of our taxpayers and look for funders that want to support the project, or look for people that want to have partnerships involved with our community center piece. We already have some MOUs with some community members of food bank. Hershey Foods was able to contribute. So we have some good ball players. We're just looking for support and opportunities where we can have partners to make this project successful. And you can visit that website, or you can contact me directly by cell phone. Andrew Erby 717-343-1692 is my cell phone. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you're looking to find a way where we can collaborate, give, and align for this positive project.
All right, we had it up on screen. We showed the audience your thing. We showed them the feel, and we showed them where they can adopt a class and all of that. I mean, I think that's very important, because I think a lot of us sometimes we are successful, we think we're successful, but we got to give back. And one of my big issues has always been somebody reached down to me and pulled me up, and it's now my job to reach down to pull somebody else up. Time is going very quickly, but I'm going to ask you in a few minutes to what you want to leave with my audience. But I'm a big person of being transparent. So the audience, so that you just know, Andrew and I are related. He's my nephew. So I want to thank you for coming on. But I want to say this: if you had to tell my audience something, what would you want them to think about, in your words, before we close?
I would say never underestimate the value of being the positive person that another person needs to be successful, because that person may need it more than you think. And at the end of the day, our goal is long run. We're working with young people and providing them with supports. We want them to carry on the tradition and legacy that someone supported us with. So when you're working with young people, it's important that we understand you have the option to help or hurt, but make your choice wisely, because you have to be able to live with it. I always choose help before hurt, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I think our impact is we're saving lives by giving knowledge and giving support and building connection. And we're raising fathers and mothers to keep our community driving in a positive direction. Never underestimate your impact or your words or your knowledge or your actions. And continue to change someone's life by support and being positive influence by positive actions, supported by positive belief. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave my audience with that. We bring so many different people on with so many different perspectives. I mean, we've had people like you who've been a successful coach. We've had people on that have been incarcerated and have changed their lives. And we believe in positive. A lot of people make mistakes. But the key is you make a mistake and you correct it. But positive role models, the most important thing in our community. And not only is a positive role model, that's why I have Did You Know? Because I want to be able to tell our story. I want to be able to say what's positive. I hear it all the time. You hear it all the time. You see it on TV. Negative, 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 negative. Murder. We don't care. Black on black crime. All kinds of crazy. But we have so many good, positive people out there. And I think it's my job, and I created my own job because this is my show, is that bring people on like you. So not only bring people on like you, but have somebody say, you know what? I want to be a coach like him. Or you know what? He said I'm going to be a mentor. Or I'm going to be positive. Because people watch what you do. And I tell young people that all the time. Young people, I tell a lot of them. I said, you're a role model. Yeah, you are a role model, because a little kid that might be in third grade is watching you. Or adult watching you. So what we do and how we project it is very important. So I will leave you with this. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to go in and look up Roller Nation. I'd like for you to see what they're doing. And some of you can duplicate that to where you live. And if you want to duplicate it, if you have some ideas and concepts, you have people like Andrew you can reach out to in Steelton. You have Coach Green there in Westinghouse. You got people all over that wants to do the right thing. There's so many people out there. I want to thank a lot of you who sit back, who's older like me, and say, you still can contribute. You've been very successful. Your children have been very successful. Some of your cousins have been very successful. And so I want to thank you for coming on. I'm proud of you. I know it's like being a coach. And a lot of times people don't say this, but I'm going to say it. People think when you coach, you make a lot of money. They just don't know you do it for the love of what you're doing it for the community. Because I can tell you this, that little money they give you is nothing, because when I coached, I didn't make no money because the kids was hungry. They wanted this, they wanted that. And we ain't going to go back to all the kids you know that you loaned, and they ain't paid you back yet. And if you charge them interest, you would be rich.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
Huh? You'd be rich if they paid you way back. But I think I want my audience to remember this. We all can do something. We all can help in our community, because we all can play a very important role. And you may not be Andrew Erby, and you may not be Richard Utley, but you are who you are, and you can be just like us. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for watching Did You Know with Richard Utley. Please mark your calendar and join us every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Did you know, if you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you have an interesting topic or individual that you would like to see us discuss during future podcasts, you can reach out to us on Facebook at Richard Utley. Until next time, have a nice day, and we will see you again for another Did You Know, and can be found on most of your favorite social media platforms.